You're the reason why I am my way. You're the reason why I rip my shirts, why I eat at the buffet. Butter, you got your very own kind of nice. We all live inside a butter world. Oh, butter, butter. Gonna eat it by the stick tonight. Gonna eat out this world. Oh, butter. I'm about to take a bite, 'cause I want that salty cream. What I dream about all night. Butter dreaming. I'm about to take a bite, 'cause I want that salty cream. What I dream about all.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Monday Night Live with Butterfield.
Hey, what's going on? I I wonder if did you hear my singing?
Oh yeah, I did. Normally
I
it
thought
mutes. Normally it mutes while the intro is playing. So yeah, StreamYard's acting funky.
yeah. I wonder if people heard my it sounded like a little cow cat purr. Not a cow, not a cow purr, a cat purr.
Cat purr.
But
Butter dreaming.
anyhow, it's Monday. You know what that means? Monday Night Live. Welcome everyone. We have another great episode planned for you tonight, where we're going to be reacting to What I've Learned's latest video on lab meat. As you may know, we covered this topic previously on a Monday Night Live. We've also addressed it multiple times in our posts on Instagram. So we'll see what he's about to share, see if we learn anything new, give you our thoughts on it. You know, obviously this is such a big, trendy topic, fake meat. Some people obviously believe this is the salvation, that we can do away with cows and just have meat grown. It comes from the animal cells, so it's just as good as it, right? Of course, we completely disagree. But yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
It's gonna be great.
we talked about it on episode 19. Italy bans lab-grown meat. That's when we started talking about the topic. So if everyone's curious to check that out, feel free. So let's get the slides going.
Oh yeah. But before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of the above. Go to Instagram, like and share, comment for all the algorithms. Join the free Discord. We have open Zooms on Wednesdays. Great community. Thank you everyone for joining our Discord. It's free. And if you need any 2-on-1 consultations, we'll help you with your weight goals.
Absolutely. So Monday Night Live, episode 23. These numbers are racking up. Let's cover the May Step Challenge first. Right. So May Step Challenge for the month of May. Every step you take counts. One step is 1 point. You can use any tracker to track the number of steps. We have a Fitbit. Some people use an app on their iPhones or Android. Log your steps for the day on our Discord group. Obviously, it's only open to people in our Discord group because that's how you log the steps. So here's a quick leaderboard snapshot as of today, May 15th. Lady Dolan with 87,000 steps. So she's pretty far ahead of me by 9,000 steps. Treble with 66. Courtney with 40K. And Mr. Anderson, I think he's just getting up out of bed and then going back into bed, maybe cooking up a steak, and those are his steps for the day.
Yeah, I haven't really been logging in my points. I need to do it. My Fitbit stopped working, so I look like way more sedentary now. So I'm literally going on the treadmill to walk with my phone in my pocket. But I need to update my count.
Wow. Nice, nice. I like the dedication. Yes, yes. All right. And for the topic of the night, what I learned, slap meets the $1 trillion ugly truth. So just
Yeah,
gonna flip screens
dude,
here.
I love his content. I love everything this guy puts out. I mean, he has been on this mission for many years now. I mean, I remember learning about keto and watching his videos on like low carb eating and fasting and ketosis. Um, pretty complete research, great resource, great quality work. I mean, there's a lot I could say about Joseph Everett. All good things, man. He's definitely been ahead in the fight for quite some time. So I encourage everyone to go check out his content.
Courtney says, "No, Trevor dusted me." Yeah, he's a sneaky one. He logs the points like a few days behind.
Yeah, he comes and goes, but
Yeah,
he's ready.
it's ready. All right, so let's kick it off.
Yeah.
Let me know if you hear the audio.
Making chicken in there.
A lab-grown chicken nugget.
Chicken grown in a lab.
Why are people making it?
Climate change.
It's better for the environment.
The environment.
Lab meat is not going to save the planet or the animals. So then why has $3 billion been invested into lab meat startups? Well, to understand the full picture, we'll first have to take a look at the science of why scaling lab meat is not practical at all.
Wait, can you
Second,
pause it?
we'll look at why no
Dude, I haven't watched this yet, so I'm already very excited. But, I just love the way it starts. Lab-grown chicken meat. Look at these people. Look at these people who are excited for it, man. Like they're just look like dorks, man.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like I'm a huge nerd too, but I mean, I don't look like that.
Yeah, they're getting very excited. I mean, just look what's on screen. Like, is this really like the type of food that people want to be eating? Just like off a beaker.
Dude, I'll tell you, like, dude, I've worked with beakers for so much time. I've worked in many labs across my life. Never once did I think like, hey, maybe I can grow some food in these things, and I definitely want my food to be handled by scientists in lab coats. Yeah, it's preposterous.
Yeah. So yeah, here in his first point, he's going to tackle the scaling problem, right? So, right, are we able to actually match nature's production or our current meat production by creating labs, right? Hopefully, people already have some sort of like intuition about this, but don't worry, there's easy ways to kind of confirm your intuition.
Yeah. Oh, and he said $3 billion have been invested into this. Let me tell you why. This is a Ponzi scheme. This is nothing but just like funneling like VC money, like picking the nerd who wins. Oh, and it's probably going to be like a lot of female CEOs. Nothing against like women working corporate jobs, whatever. But it's going to be like this huge like social justice warrior like narrative. First female CEO, billionaire, whatever, and then it's just all going to turn out to be a huge scam, like just like Theranos. There's going to be like this vegan dorks, just like Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX. Like it's just going to be financial scam 101.
Yes, absolutely. Like, I don't want to jump into conspiracies because I mean, yeah. But anyway, play.
no one will be able to afford it. Third, why it could be worse for the environment. And finally, whether the public and investors are being misled by unrealistically optimistic stories.
This meat, it's incredibly unsustainable, but we figured out a way to solve it, and we're going to have to do it if we want to continue living.
They open up with the premise, this meat thing is incredibly unsustainable, so we gotta solve it, right? So that's the root of the problem. That's the operating assumption. Meat is unsustainable.
Yeah, yeah. It's just comedy to me. Like, it's just so funny that a grown adult is out there promoting these views. Like, bro, what do you eat, man? Like, you're so soft.
uh, yeah, yeah.
On this planet.
So either we accept this or we all become vegetarian.
It's better for the world.
At first, I was really optimistic about lab meat. It made so much sense.
Wait, look, if we cannot produce enough meat, everybody has to become vegetarian. Like, no, there's no way you can get enough calories. Anyway.
Yeah, like, dude, where's the critical thinking there, man? Like, this guy's just parroting like whatever he read on CNN.
Growing just a steak instead of a whole cow seemed to be way more efficient. But then I started looking into it, and it made less and less sense. To take cells from a cow or chicken and grow them quickly, they need to be put in a very expensive custom-made bioreactor, filled with a specially formulated liquid made with purified water, growth factors, purified amino acids, glucose, and salts. A cow just needs rainwater and grass. The facility and the bioreactor need to be totally sterile because a tiny amount of bacteria or virus could ruin the whole batch, wasting tons of money. A cow has an immune system, so it can just lay in the dirty grass outside. A huge challenge to growing cells quickly inside.
Yeah, that's a pretty clean comparison, right? Because you're having a cell culture here, right? So basically, you're providing nutrients for anything to grow, anything. So you have the wrong bacteria there. Everything gets contaminated. Well, the cow has its own immune system, kind of just deals with it itself.
Yeah, the cow could be covered in its shit. I mean, not that you want it to be, but like, the cow could, and it's fine.
Yeah.
A reactor is developing ways to efficiently deliver oxygen and nutrients to each cell, while removing waste products like ammonia, lactate, and CO2. A cow, on the other hand, handles all this really easily with lungs, blood vessels, and its liver. There's a lot more to this picture, but the point is it's very expensive to try and do what a cow, chicken, or pig does.
In a Singapore restaurant, there's a recent addition to the menu. This is chicken, but not as we know it.
The lab meat company Eat Just was actually selling lab-grown chicken nuggets straight to consumers in Singapore. But those cost upwards of $50 each to make. For that same price, about 1,500 nuggets could be made from conventional chicken meat. The most common justification for lab meat is that we need it to prevent conventional meat from destroying the planet.
And what is the problem that we try to solve by cultivated meat?
So that we have a planet to inhabit.
President Biden signed an executive order this year requiring federal agencies to support cultivating alternative food sources.
Ezra Klein, founder of the hugely popular news media company.
I mean, that's a kind of another tale when something can only exist if it's propped up by the government. Because otherwise, without like artificial intervention, manual intervention, it kind of just fades away, and then it's not a problem.
Yeah, the market has no desire, no demand for it. And dude, like, you know how I started off saying this is nothing but a financial scam? Like, yeah. I mean, it goes even deeper than that. This is a way to funnel taxpayer money. And I use quotation marks because the government doesn't spend taxpayer money. They just make up money.
True.
But, you know, quotation marks, taxpayer money to subsidize these industries that no one has any desire for, and then boom, someone makes the run with the money. What happened to the money? What happened to the investments? You know, what happened with Silicon Valley Bank? What happened?
Yeah,
it's the same playbook, different game. But I didn't know that about Biden signing that act enacting that act.
Yeah, no, neither did I.
But you know, classic story. I mean, politicians are going to buy the stocks and the options. Pelosi's going to be at the top there, and you know, they get to make money and eat steak while you're out there defending them doing that.
Yeah,
to no one's benefit.
Vox wrote an article arguing that we need government funding into plant-based protein and lab meat to save the planet from climate change.
And we need government support to get there.
But you're getting all these people like pushing the government to fund this.
As soon as you show me it's better for the environment and there's like positive impacts, let's fund it. It's fine. But I do not see that.
On the other hand, Dr. Derek Reisner points out in his PhD dissertation that despite all the hype and investment that has already been poured into lab meat, a detailed assessment of whether lab meat is actually better for the environment has not been properly done.
We're going to need all hands on deck to make these the global meat industry.
One report commissioned by the Good Food Institute, GFI, a nonprofit which...
I'm sorry?
Was that Bill Gates?
No. Bruce Friedrich. You know, we were talking about the Good Food Institute. Funnily enough, a couple weeks back. You know, this
I mean, dude, they have good food in their name.
Oh yeah.
So
they make it easy. They obviously are pro good food. They're not the bad guys, right?
Oh, how could they?
Yeah.
Meat industry.
One report commissioned by the Good Food Institute, GFI, a nonprofit which heavily promotes and supports the lab meat space, admitted that it would cost $450 million to make a facility producing a mere 22 million pounds of lab meat a year. That does sound like a lot, but if this steak represents the 100 billion pounds of normal meat that the US makes a year, this represents 22 million pounds, a mere 0.022% of US meat production. And 450 million is the extra optimistic price tag. Another analysis put the cost of such a facility closer to 5 billion. What that would mean is that even if we assume that lab meat has zero emissions, if we wanted to reduce global emissions by 1/20th of 1%, we would first need to invest at least $1 trillion just into the facilities for lab meat. This is Dr.
Oh man. Talk about just being so inefficient. Current meat production seems to be doing pretty well. So what are we trying to fix? A world that we continue to exist on? Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, try to fix all of humanity's historical sourcing of food.
Yes.
He said $1 trillion to reduce, food emissions by 1/20th of 1%.
Yeah.
Dude, give me $1 trillion. Let's buy all the farmland in the world that we can, and 1,000 acres in every continent, and just start grazing all 5 animals in there. Everything from ducks and chickens and goats, sheep, cows, bison, anything goes.
Yeah, with $1 trillion, man, like you said, we can probably feed the entire earth. Yeah.
Easy.
Dr. Paul Wood, an ex-biopharma consultant and board member of Cellular Agriculture Australia.
Sustainability credentials will have to be earned. They can't just be assumed. I understand the energy intensities. I mean, you're running a whole lot of tanks at 37 degrees. They produce a lot of then radiant heat. So you actually have to air condition your rooms. If you're not using completely renewable energy, you won't be more sustainable.
It sounds too good to be true because it is too good to be true.
In 2021, Joe Fassler published a bombshell article in The Counter that laid out the specific technical details illustrating why lab meat is very likely a pipe dream.
There are multiple breakthroughs that are needed, vast advances that would be worthy of Nobel Prizes, multiple Nobel Prizes.
One of the many experts Fassler consulted with was David Humbert, a chemical engineer who wrote the most detailed analysis of scaling lab meat yet. Even in the most generous, best-case hypothetical scenario Humbert considered, where various economies of scale are included and all kinds of technological scientific breakthroughs are assumed to have happened, he projected that lab meat in the future would still be very, very unlikely to cost under $11 per pound to produce. With markup, that would easily be over $22 a pound at the supermarket. That's over 4 times the price of normal ground beef.
Yeah, $22 a pound. You're talking about some very nice looking ribeyes.
Top tier, man. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, that makes a lot of sense to me when you start factoring into the equation that, you know, you have governments literally turning on their farmers, which is ultimately only going to result in the consolidation of food production and just more expensive meat. You know, I don't ever think we'll live in a world where there is no meat, but it's just going to be continuing to get more expensive.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, you still have to have animals, right? Like, say you completely eliminate the animals, then yeah, we would definitely cease to exist. Because you need animals for fertilizer at least, and that's just for starters. So there will always be animal foods. There's just no eliminating them.
Yeah, which is no surprise. I mean, you see countries like Singapore already offering these good meats, right? And Singapore is like notoriously expensive, man. Like, it's like impossible to own a car over there. So
yeah,
I mean, it's probably being subsidized by the government and other nefarious acts too.
Yeah. So the fake food gets subsidized while real food gets taxed.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
Humber honestly was being nice in his work. I've talked to Dave. I've talked to Dave Humber. He was trying to make it work, and he friggin' couldn't. Like, he straight up, he's not going to do things that aren't factual.
In Vox's Netflix documentary, they said that
Mosa Meat says it cut production costs to just $10 a burger.
But I contacted that company and they said they didn't get down to $10 a burger. They said that $10 a burger was simply a target set in 2019. So why is it so damn expensive? Again, the problem is not growing a bunch of lab meat. It's growing it for cheap so that people will actually buy it. It's not as simple as scaling up your equipment. It has to do with biological limits. For example, humans exist, but you can't have a 10-foot tall human. You can have a really big animal, but you can't have a really big animal with a really fast metabolic rate. You can grow cells outside of an animal in a large bioreactor, but you can't do it efficiently. If you want to grow just the beef we eat cheaply and efficiently, you need the rest of that cow. Two huge problems limiting efficient cell growth in a bioreactor are getting enough oxygen and nutrients to the cells and transporting CO2 and waste products away from the cells. First, mammals' complex vascular system is responsible for delivering oxygen and nutrients to all of their cells. It's arranged in an intricate fractal pattern such that all 100 trillion cells are within a mere 500 microns of a small capillary. With lab meat, the cells are just dumped in a liquid that has the nutrients they need, and the mixture is just stirred around to help expose all the cells to those nutrients. Oxygen is delivered to the cells by blowing bubbles into the tank. This nutrient liquid they use in bioreactors is only able to carry an amount of oxygen that is 45 times less than what real blood can carry. By the way, this nutrient liquid is currently so expensive and resource intensive that Dr. Derek Reisner's analysis suggests that lab meat may have a much higher environmental impact than normal meat.
It's not good for the environment, which I don't think it is. It's not economically viable, which my own research is like, I don't know how you guys are going to make this economically viable.
The pharmaceutical industry has been using
So basically, whenever a new lab-grown company gets IPO'd, thrown into the stock market, wait out the hype and then start shorting it. Because eventually, the people who made their money they're going to be like, okay, this is the top. We're getting out.
Yeah, wait for the top.
Yeah. Because as a dude was pointing out, it's not economically viable. It's not sustainable. What are we doing? It doesn't work.
Yeah. We should have a tracker for any of these fake meat companies going into an IPO, and just get ready. Time it perfectly. Buy some puts.
Yeah, exactly. By some long-term dated puts, maybe a couple years out, right? So it's really cheap, and you don't lose money while waiting it out.
Yeah, I wonder what else they'll come up with once everyone realizes, fake meat, you can't do it. Plant-based meat, like no one wants it. Lab meat, like it's just the next one. So how long is it gonna take for people to just realize? And what are they gonna come up with next?
Oh yeah.
Like they run out of ideas, man. But isn't that amazing? Just the way he explains, just how something so simple like oxygen input and CO2 removal, like they can only get so close to that within a lab manufacturing setting, and really nature just figured it all out by itself. I mean, well, the master creator, right?
Of course.
You just can't. I mean, we have some pretty smart people on this planet. We've done some pretty cool things with the things that we can make and build and design. I like planes. I like cars with engines. Those are all pretty cool things.
Yeah.
We can't make food. Can't make food, man. We can't make a cow. Can't make a human.
I mean, we've been playing the Let's Make Food game, probably the entire last century, right? Just with the whole manufacturing of cereals and breads and all these packaged foods, box foods. We've been playing that game that we think we can make some food, and obviously our health hasn't improved. So, but here we are. We're just taking steps forward on no grounds.
Tons and tons of bioreactors to make all sorts of products for decades now. Globally, about 23% of all drugs are made in bioreactors. If we're going to start using bioreactors for meat, we are going to need a ton of them. Pretend this represents the global meat demand. This is half of 1%. That is how much lab meat we would get if we had 11 to 22 times the entire pharmaceutical industry's current stainless steel bioreactor capacity just for growing lab meat.
How many reactors you would need if you were to see a really significant replacement of current meat consumption? That's one hell of a lot of steel.
Take the type of steel that you would need to make these tanks. You got to mine all that. You got to get it out of the ground. You have to process it. Where do these tanks come from?
As part of normal cell metabolism, CO2 and waste products like ammonia and lactate are produced by the cells. It's almost like the cells are sitting in their own urine. When too much of these things build up in the tank, the cells don't do too well, and it reduces the rate that the cells grow. At some point, the cell growth will slow to a halt, and your cells will die from bathing in all that urine. So before that happens, you need to harvest your cells and start a new batch. David Humbert explains in his 2021 paper that biological limits like this are more often the issue than physical limits like tank size. Meaning you could have a 250,000 liter tank, but it would be completely worthless if your cells stopped growing at only 20,000 liters because of too much CO2 or ammonia building up. In the case of a cow, its bloodstream would simply transfer the CO2 away from the cells to the lungs to be breathed out, and ammonia and lactate would be transported to the liver to get rid of it. With bioreactors, there is a process called perfusion, which can clear out some of the CO2 and ammonia, which will improve the cell growth. But that equipment is way too expensive to use for making millions of pounds of lab meat. Humbert calculates that even though you are growing the cells more efficiently, it would cost even more, driving up the cost of lab meat an extra $6 per pound. This is just...
So that's a pretty good point about, yeah, you have this huge vat, huge tank of all these things, but the moment one of these chemicals just outpaces the other chemical, it becomes a problem and ruins the entire culture. So obviously, when it's in the tank, it's very hard to kind of take out that's whatever ammonia. While in a living organism like the cow, it just gets filtered out via the blood, via the breathing, the liver process, whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty hard to recreate, Mr. Anderson.
I froze, but I'm here again.
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I was planned for this. But yeah, no, certainly it's keep coming back to the same thing, right? Like this technology, pharma uses it. and they use it to. It's been all the rage lately with what is it, like cell and gene therapy. There's companies out there that are will literally harvest your immune cells and modify them genetically, put them in these bioreactors so they can multiply, and then they'll program the cells to kill a certain cancer, and then they'll feed you those cells. And then there's people targeting cancer in these ways. But that's crazy. I mean, 11 to 22 times all the stainless steel bioreactors that are currently on Earth just to get to 0.5% of meat. I mean, the scale is just ridiculous. I mean, you're talking about literally all of humans' existence, development and accumulate it to make food. You're trying to tap into animal protein. It doesn't make any sense. It's just not gonna work.
Just one of the many problems that need to be solved to make lab meat cheap enough for the average person to buy.
The papers that people like the Good Food Institute have put out, they actually have stated the cost has to come down over 1,000-fold. When I would
just reduce the cost by 1,000. What was that? By 1,000 times.
Yeah, and some people are going to say oh, it's an ambitious goal, but we can get there. It's just a matter of scale, but
just throw so much money into it when that money could have been used to actually set up more farms. But no.
Set up more farms, absolutely. Just have animals breed with each other. I mean, this is going to get to a point where they're going to have to grow the whole animal's organs, grow lungs. They're gonna have to grow the livers and stomachs, and then they're gonna try to put this abomination together, kind of like cow Frankenstein, and then say hey, we figured it out. Maybe that's what's next.
That is what's next. You stop trying to grow the meat directly. You just start growing the animal parts and then putting them together. Just trying to raise animals and in the lab.
Yeah. Oh wait, yeah. That reminds me. 3D printed meat. That might be the next thing after lab meat.
Oh, 3D printed. Yeah. Interesting.
Leading discovery in a large pharmaceutical company. If I went forward and said, here's our product and it's 1,000-fold away, that's a get out. Get out of the room. I mean, come back when you've got something real.
But is lab meat even...
Yeah, why are these things entertained to begin with? It's here's a fantasy. Will you invest in this fantasy? Oh, yeah. Here's all the money.
People are just
meat.
Man, look at that steak.
Yeah.
It is 100% meat.
Because it will taste like animal meat, because that's exactly what it is.
The result is actual animal flesh.
First of all, what usually comes out of these bioreactors is called cell slurry.
Slurry of cells, right? That's what's coming out of a bioreactor.
That's such a accurate name, and it's disgusting.
It's not the most appetizing thing.
I call our product Little Lisa's patented animal slurry. A spoonful of slurry will cure what ails ya.
Most future lab meat products will be blended with other non-meat ingredients and formed into homogenized things like burger patties, nuggets, sausages, meatballs, and hot dogs.
We're not going to come out with a steak. We're going to come out with a hamburger. So it's a structured stuff.
Real meat is composed of various types of cells. It has its familiar texture thanks to both muscle fibers and fat cells, as well as blood vessels, tendons, connecting.
I can smell it from here.
Man, it's so good.
Yeah. It looks like they're using seed oils, though.
And Teflon. Oh my God.
On Teflon. Wow, that's a crime there.
Tissues and so on. But bioreactors typically can only cultivate one type of cell at a time, meaning an entirely different process will be needed to assemble various cells and additives together into a texture that resembles something like a steak or pork chop. So the price is even more important, because while someone might pay top dollar for a T-bone steak, they're not going to pay $20 a pound for mashy ground beef. Several of the compounds that contribute to the flavor and nutritional profile of meat arrive there thanks to processes going on elsewhere in the animal's body. These things don't just appear in the cells. So to match real meat, various nutrients and compounds will need to be added one by one at some point in the process of making lab meat.
In the end, when I've got a cell paste, I don't have any structure. I actually need some fibrous material, so I'll blend in some plant material. I think in the end, cell-based meat will be the new plant-based category because I'm going to guess that there's probably going to be more plant-based material in those products than there is cell-based.
The point is, a lot.
So basically like a hybrid. Oh, okay. I guess we cannot be entirely cell-based. Let's just throw in some sawdust, some cellulose. So it's fibrous or more meat-like.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, okay. I guess that's the next thing. Once everything else fails, they'll come out with a hybrid. I'm just trying to envision, what's going to happen after, say, like 2030. So
yeah,
we can make our financial allocations appropriately and short these companies.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think you're onto something. I think you got it. No. What does Sun Tzu says? Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, or something like that. Basically, be really interested in what your enemy or opponent is doing. Know what they know. Think what they think. And hybrid stuff, multi-organ, lab manufacturing, synthetic stuff. That's what they're thinking. That's what they believe in.
Yeah, and luckily it's not that hard to understand. It doesn't work.
Yeah. To like a non-carnivore normal person, it's like, oh, it's so confusing. My head hurts. And to us, it's like, no, it's actually pretty straightforward.
A lot of work will need to be done to get consumers to actually like it as much as real meat. The lab meat industry has a history of making promises they can't keep. In 2021, Mother Jones published an illustration of the many, many predictions made by research institutions and lab meat companies about when lab meat would be available. That ended up being wrong.
As you're building a business, don't be naive about the power of storytelling. You need them to give you money when all you have is a PowerPoint deck.
This is Josh Hoffman. He was the CEO of the synthetic biology company Zymergen. His skill of painting a vision for the future earned Zymergen $1 billion of venture capital.
Zymergen is rewriting the potential of biology. Our work has the potential to revolutionize chemicals and materials, agriculture, human health. So we really think this has the potential to change the entire economy.
He had an optimistic vision of reducing our reliance on petrochemicals by producing everyday products like anything from optic film to mosquito repellent in bioreactors. These bioreactors would be filled with microbes, specially engineered to produce specific compounds we regularly rely on petrochemicals for. But the challenge was the same as lab meats. How would they ever do this at scale for a reasonable price? Zymergen went public in April 2021. But just 4 months later, they announced that they would bring in $0 in product revenue for 2021 and 2022. CEO Josh Hoffman ended up leaving Zymergen in August of 2021. And by July of 2022, 94% of the company's stock value had vanished since going public.
This is exactly what you're saying. So here's someone just talking fantasy and then selling that fantasy, and then people buying into that fantasy, and then people realizing, wait, this is not making any money ever. And then it just collapses.
Yeah, and he made off with the money, I'm sure. I mean, what's his name?
Josh Hoffman. And
Dude, I bet we can figure out his net worth right now.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole time he was employed, he was probably he was paid a salary, CEO salary. So you're talking at least $500,000, just on base salary, and then there's bonus, and then there the options and equity that they get paid, and then obviously when you leave a company at the C-suite level, you get severance, right? So you get maybe another half a year of unemployed, and lots of perks. Definitely made his money.
Yeah, so they had a valuation at $3 billion.
Nice.
And they raised 500 million in their IPO.
So without a doubt, he has some ownership in that, and he started selling. These people, they have selling plans that just automatically sell their stock every month a little bit, just they're cashing out little by little. So,
Dude, this is funny. There's a article from Forbes I just pulled up, and it's from April 22nd, 2021. And it's just like one of the first sentences is like, Hoffman, 50, a former McKinsey consultant and Rothschild merchant banker, founded Zymergen in 2013 with 2 former Ameris XX. I'll just leave it there.
everything you need to know, right there.
Dude, what the heck, bro?
Oh man,
everything. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Man, I like the idea that you have about having a tracking sheet of all these fake food companies. Definitely, that's easy work.
Yeah, man. I mean, they started in April. Wow. And in a few months, if you look at that chart you have there.
Oh yeah,
April. It didn't take that long.
Yeah, from 45 to 10. Yeah. And then from 10 to almost 0. Yeah. Just under a year of going public, right? Because it sounds like Zymergen was established quite a while back.
Yeah, in 2013.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude, imagine. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Imagine like working there 7-8 years as an engineer or scientist, thinking you're gonna pull it off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Imagine all that effort, all that energy, all that human dream energy just wasted, just vanished.
Wasted labor.
Wasted labor. And yeah. You learn the hard way or the easy way.
A former employee said that Josh Hoffman misled people with exaggerated financial figures and made overly optimistic projections about the company's capabilities. One of the big players in the lab meat space, Eat Just, has raised over $800 million in venture capital.
Has recently faced a slew of negative coverage, accusing it of classic Silicon Valley hubris and overreach.
Eat Just came under scrutiny in 2016 when they sent many of their workers into grocery stores to buy out tons of their vegan mayonnaise product.
Hundreds of jars of its own products.
Here you go, folks.
Yeah.
Here's the extra mayonnaise you ordered.
A former scientist at the company said that this type of behavior was common.
And the company's entire board stepped down last month with little explanation.
Just because you can do something in the lab does not at all mean you can do something at commercial scale.
But in 2022, Eat Just made the impressive announcement that they will be building 10 never-before-seen 250,000 liter bioreactors.
People say, oh, we're going to grow 250,000 liters. I don't think that's feasible. I don't think it's feasible from a biological point of view.
He just claims that 250,000 liter bioreactors will be able to produce 30 million pounds of meat a year by 2030. These big numbers may wow investors and earn them more investment, but even if everything goes perfectly to plan, their magic facility would replace a mere 0.03% of the United States conventional meat production. Even Yakov Nachmias, CEO of the lab meat company Believer Meats, says that 250,000.
Oh, Believer Meats, that's a company right there. Company to keep track of. Believer Meats. Believe.
Dude, I'm just wondering how we can start a financial scam like this. Just get rich super quick, and then well, buy all this farmland. It's like, hey, we have this fake meat product. Give us $1 billion. And then we just go and buy a lot of farmland, and we're like, here you go. We found a better way.
Oh man, we were getting so much trouble. But yeah, we could raise money easily, and then just misuse it for better, for something actually real, and come out pretty good. But we would get in trouble because we didn't do what we were saying we're going to do. Oh, you could play some clever word games where it seems like we're saying something, but we're actually meaning something else.
Cellulose-based meat. That's gonna be the thing.
Oh yeah,
Everything
cellulose.
is cellulose. Yeah. So, and everyone's gonna be like, this company's trying to make meat out of cellulose. And it's like, yeah, we're gonna buy all these stainless steel bioreactors. Give us $1 billion.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we just buy farmland. We just play the Uno reverse card. Dude, I think that could work.
Yeah.
The bankers would probably have us murdered. But,
Yeah, we would show up hanging out. Epstein, yeah.
Liter bioreactor is just a fantasy.
And there was the talk about, a quarter of a liter bioreactors are daydreaming garbage.
Nakimanas explains that while a bigger bioreactor would help scale the production, it makes the cell growing process less efficient.
The bioreactor is small, then your factory is not going to be efficient. The problem is that the bigger the bioreactor is, the more non-homogeneous it becomes. The process becomes less efficient.
There's been a contamination. Something got into the lab.
Another huge difficulty with massive lab meat plants is that they need to be exceedingly clean. A bioreactor doesn't have an immune system to protect the fragile animal cells, so if the tiniest bit of bacteria, virus, or other contaminant on a worker's glove or clothing gets into these massive bioreactors, the entire batch of cell slurry would be ruined. This is a well-known $1 million problem with bioreactors in the pharmaceutical industry.
He was telling us about the $1 Million Club. They lost a batch because of contamination. So there's dudes walking around San Francisco that, because they contaminated a tank, joined the $1 Million Club. He said you only get to join it once. You do it again, you're gone.
Some people have used the misleading analogy that a lab meat facility will basically be like a beer brewery.
Kind of like brewing beer or growing yogurt.
It's not that dissimilar from how you would culture food or how you would brew beer.
It's your friendly neighborhood meat brewery.
Do you know how to make beer? So you'll know how to make cultured meat.
That is not the same. That drives me nuts. We know that this isn't like brewing beer.
Beer can be made in your backyard while you're smoking a cigarette and
that must be so annoying to hear people say, oh, you can grow that meat just like you brew beer. That's just like all the lies or like misleading or false representations is so prevalent in every area of every industry. Even when it comes to like this fake industry of lab meat, even more lies on top of lies. Yeah.
We could just repurpose breweries all around the world and have Budweiser be making fake meat now. If they could, maybe they would, right? But I have a feeling they're better off selling you, converted barley and malt rather than these these whatever nutrients they're using that are. I'm surprised he hasn't talked about how the growth serum is derived from fetal bovine cells. Maybe he'll dive into that later.
Yeah.
Wearing the same sweaty clothes you had been wearing at the gym. An extra clean lab meat facility handling the same volume as a beer brewery could be well over 6 times the price due to all the measures necessary to keep it clean, like, for example, level 6 and level 8 clean rooms that constantly purify the air.
I don't think it's a backyard operation. This is a sophisticated technology. The people who operate these facilities get paid very, very well, and they're very well qualified, because you cannot afford to get your cells contaminated.
Back in 2017, when Eat Just...
I like that he says this is not a backyard operation, right? Where you just set up a stainless steel tank outside, and then that thing just produces a meat slurry. But you can have backyard chickens, and that is a backyard operation.
Oh my God, yeah. That's a great analogy. You can't have backyard meat rabbits.
Backyard meat rabbits? Man. Yeah.
Was selling vegan mayo products all of their products were pulled off of the retailer Target's shelves after allegations of food safety problems like listeria and salmonella contamination at the manufacturing facility. So let's hope that they're able to keep their lab meat facilities cleaner, or they could be wasting millions of dollars. When talking to Joe Fassler, Dr. David Humbert summed up the feasibility of scaling lab-grown meat as a big wall of no. He even said that it was a fractal no, that the big no is comprised of many smaller no's. Derek Reisner has written 2 papers that point out the extreme cost and resource intensity of preparing that nutrient liquid, the growth medium for the cells. He agrees with Humbert's assessment that lab meat is a big wall of no.
Yeah, I would say with the big wall, no, I'm on that boat for sure.
However, in late 2022, Yakov Nachmias, founder of Believer Meats, announced that his team's new work growing cells in the lab had conclusively shattered Humbert's so-called big wall of no. This is pretty big. After I read about this, I thought I might have to just rewrite this entire video. Believer Meats' approach is to increase the number of cells in the bioreactor by getting rid of those toxic waste products like ammonia and lactate that we talked about earlier. More cells in the bioreactor means more meat at a lower cost. In their experiment, they used a perfusion device. It's kind of like an artificial liver that pumps fluid in and out of the bioreactor and clears out the toxins. They claim that their protocol using this perfusion device allowed them to get a number of cells per liter that is way higher than what Humbert said would be possible. That sounds really exciting at first, but these results were done in a mere 2-liter bioreactor. If we're talking about what can be done at very small scale in the lab, this isn't actually new at all. Another team already achieved similar cell growth results way back in 2013, and it was with less resource-intensive equipment. So an experiment in a 2-liter tank doesn't really tell you much. To mass-produce lab meat at commercial scale, we need bioreactors that handle thousands of liters.
Like, is it reasonable at all to say a 2-liter experiment is going to scale to a 1,000-liter or 10,000-liter bioreactor?
Look, I think with this sort of technology, no. I think you've got to be very careful about claims you make on scaling.
Derek Risner pointed out that the pharmaceutical industry will often attempt to scale in multiples of 4. So if you achieve 2 liters in the lab, the next step is to run an experiment at 8 liters. You don't just jump from 2 liters in the lab to commercial scale of 1,000 liters. And when it comes to cost, Dr. Nachmias himself acknowledges that using this type of perfusion technology is so expensive that it's not appropriate for commercial scale production of lab meat.
One of the things that they said in the Food Navigator article was like, this conclusively shatters the limits set forth by Humbert.
To say that it's shattered, I think that is a pretty big overstep. And I think it's the sort of things we're seeing from a lot of companies because they're still capital raising.
Mm-hmm.
So you always have to be positive.
The way that the general media reports on cultured meat is through the lens of investment. This company just raised $40 million. This company just raised $140 million. And some of the off-the-record conversations I've had with people within the industries, they're like, listen, investors do not do their due diligence. Some of them couldn't pass a biology class.
Last year, Dr. Jeffrey Lee Funk published an article titled...
So that's another good point where we perceive that something is true just by the massive amount of dollars that go into something, right? Oh, 150 million goes into this. Wow, that must be, that's the truth, right? That's the future. That's where we're going. This is it, man. All those dollars. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, Bill Gates funds $150 million. Dude, what's 150 million to Jeff Bezos? He's like worth 150 billion. Bro, that's, oh my God, dude, that's just chump change.
Chump change, just buying coffee for the day.
Dude, that's not even 1% of his money.
Yeah.
Just imagine, whoever's listening to this, imagine all the money you have and take 1% of your money. How willing you are to spend that. If you're someone like Jeff Bezos, 1% is like $1 billion. So he can start 5 different fake meat companies if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, they do. The Jeff Bezos Foundation or whatever it's called, They're the #1 funders of the World Resources Institute, which are one of the big funding sources for institutes like Good Food. The Good Food Institute. It must be good.
Yeah.
So that's just to say, like as you mentioned, the monetary, the nominal value on the investment says nothing about the quality or the caliber of the technology or its scalability or its future.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's just a big scam.
Yeah. Well, it's just another tactic that these players know to play. Oh, all this money's going there. Your money should go there too.
Yeah, and they can use like we just showed this experiment with a 2-liter batch, so we can do it. It's like, no, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah. 2 liters doesn't scale to 200 liters, much less to 2,000 or 200,000.
Fake it till you make it is an old trick Silicon Valley startups use to get money. He explains the cycle of how startups are often overly optimistic to the point of misleading investors into investing. But even then, people see that investment as evidence that the company is likely to succeed, which drives more investment. Bruce Friedrich is the CEO and founder of the earlier mentioned Good Food Institute. He's featured in Ezra Klein's article saying public investment in lab-grown meat is...
Dude, I didn't know the Good Food Institute was just going to be such a present thing in this video.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a couple of weeks back about the Good Food Institute. The good people are here with the good food recommendations and the good food funding, here to save us because we don't know any better. We can only put our chickens in the backyard and get food from there, but boy, are we doing it wrong.
Yeah. The Good Food Institute is also working closely with local governments like in London and New York City. Yeah, in such initiatives like, Vegan Fridays and their new food-based emissions tracking score that they want to implement.
Yeah, the food emission tracking score. They come up with a whole Excel sheet of how to calculate how much your food emissions to your restaurant is doing, or something like that. Incredible.
Urgently needed. Joe Fassler wrote in his article that when Friedrich was skeptically questioned by Ricardo San Martin, who has a PhD in biotechnology, Friedrich snapped back saying that the proof that people have invested is proof that scaling lab meat is practical. There is a surprising number of overfunded house of cards startups today. As laid out by Dr. Jeffrey Lee Funk, just to name a few, Uber has raised $25 billion, but their cumulative losses are $32 billion. WeWork raised $21 billion with cumulative losses of $20.7 billion. Even Ginkgo Bioworks, which has acquired the earlier mentioned company Zymergen, has raised $800 million, but has cumulative losses of $3.3 billion. Throwing money at companies doesn't make them profitable, so why should we assume that throwing money at lab meat will make it cheap to produce? One reason why that perfusion technology is so expensive is that it uses tons of that expensive growth medium. The cost of growth medium has been a concern for the bioprocessing industry for decades. If anybody could make a super cheap yet effective medium, then they would be rich just from that. Yet various lab meat companies act as if it's a given that this is going to be solved really soon. So as things are now, lab meat is a kind of catch-22. If you want to make a lot of lab meat efficiently, you need a big vessel. But it's really difficult and expensive to keep big vessels clean. And the bigger the vessel, the less efficient the cells grow. You can use perfusion to make your cells grow more efficiently, but perfusion is even more expensive, and it doesn't scale. It uses way too much of that expensive growth medium. And making tons of growth medium is currently too resource expensive and bad for the environment, which defeats the whole purpose of lab meat. Some companies are aiming to make hybrid products instead. For example, they'll just make the animal fats in bioreactors and use that to make plant-based products taste better.
Perfect Day alone raised $361 million.
I wonder where the vegans stand on that. Like, oh, it's soy, but it uses chicken fat, but the chicken fat came from a lab, is not from a chicken.
Yes, now the future of fake meat is not vegan.
Yeah,
So it's like they just backstab like the biggest group behind this invention.
Yes. Yeah. The vegans played their role in moving the plant agenda forward. Now the plant agenda is here. Now we're gonna move the fake food forward. So we're now gonna come up with a new group of people that embraces fake foods to their core, and they will bring the fake food forward.
Perfect Day is a company making synthetic whey protein using fungus in a fermentation tank. They mix that with water, sugar, sunflower oil, and other ingredients to make a milk-like product. Even though this type of fermentation is typically way easier to do than growing meat in a bioreactor, their animal-free milk product currently costs about 3 times as much as organic grass-fed milk, and about 10 times as much as regular milk. The optimistic of us may still assume that just like how Moore's Law allowed us to go from Macintoshes to tiny iPhones, we'll go from $50 lab chicken nuggets to $5 lab steaks. But Moore's Law doesn't apply to biological systems. And even if it did, Moore's Law is plateauing lately. It can't go on forever. Lab meat technology will probably improve, but at some point that progress...
Moore's Law, correct me, maybe you remember, Anderson, but Moore's Law, that's just like applies to like, what was it, semiconductors or transistors or some, it's actually a very specific type of innovation.
Yeah, it's something to do with
circuitry or...
Yeah, it's like processors, like
Oh,
processing
yeah.
speed like doubles every X amount of time or something like that.
Yeah. It's not necessarily innovation itself that it's doubling every so often, or a computer doubling every so often.
Yeah, I mean, if that were true, like, I don't know, like, I mean, you can only get so much pasture out of an acre, right? Like, I mean, if it applied to any system, then like, you know, like, we'd be able to grow like 100 cows on 1 acre of pasture.
Yeah.
But that's not really like what's going on here.
Yeah.
So I understand that analogy.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, our processors are going to keep getting better, most likely.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever.
Man, this video is making me want to like start up a farm and just to prove them wrong, just to be like, you're not taking away our food.
Oh hell no.
Yeah.
will hit a plateau. Thinking that plateau won't come before lab meat's cost is practical is a huge gamble. About $3 billion has been invested into lab meat so far. Yet the available evidence does not guarantee that lab meat will be practical, profitable, or even good for the environment. Lucky for us, humans aren't like a bioreactor. We don't need to drink growth medium. We just need to drink enough water to stay hydrated. That's where this video's sponsor, Element, comes in. Element is a great way to add electrolytes and stay hydrated without any sugar.
Yeah.
Just,
this is the end of it.
Yeah, there's only like 30 seconds left. There's no way he's got another point.
No, that's it. It's just all LMNT.
Yeah, I mean, folks, don't forget your electrolytes. You know, we're not sponsored by LMNT, but salt. Use lots of salt.
/what I've learned.
Use lots of salt. Use lots of salt.
Yeah, man, that was a great video, and I'm surprised he didn't bring up the fact that that growth medium, that he calls it, is derived from fetal bovine cells.
Yeah. So you're basically taking juice from the cow. Well, fetal bovine, the fetus. You're basically taking away the fetus juice, which sounds even more horrific.
Yeah, maybe he was just too disgusted by that fact that he just didn't really. He was like, I might take this one for later. But,
yeah.
Folks, go Google it yourselves. What is behind those? Some sources will call it the nutrient-rich broth, but really that's just an euphemism because no one wants to tell you where it really comes from, and it comes from fetus juice, as you said, Jay.
Yeah. Fetal bovine cells. It's very horrific, which is like
Like, what's the end goal, right? What are we fixing?
Yeah. What's the problem? There is no problem. That's the thing. We are actually self-sabotaging by, moving money away from farmers when it should be going towards farmers. Farmers should probably have, very amazing facilities if they had, just $1 million to invest out of those 450 million that they want to invest in one bioreactor or whatever. And
man.
And that $1 million of investment in a farm would yield you 1,000 times more meat than whatever, we could probably do. We should probably try to calculate that. Just kind of like put it side by side. Hey, X amount of dollars going into this lab grown meat yields this much meat. Well, X amount of dollars going to a farm yields this much. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, well, rough numbers, just off the top of my head. One cow, you can buy like a cow, like a grown calf, off market for like $2,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually, like that will be the price. So just right there, that's what is a million divided by 2,000?
Oh, 500. 500,000. Yeah. 500.
5,000.
5,000.
Is that right? Yeah, 5,000.
Yeah.
5,000 cows.
5,000
Dude,
cows.
with $1 million, you could buy 1,000 cows. 5,000 cows.
Wow. So 5,000 cows. Each cow is, just for easy numbers, is 1,000 pounds. You have 5 million pounds of food. No, well, total weight. Then
Yeah.
Actual edible weight was probably what, 50 to 60% of that.
Yeah, like 500 pounds. It's a good estimate.
500 pounds.
Yeah, 500 pounds, 5,000 cows. That's 25,000. Bro, that's. I can't do math right now. I don't know why. I'm usually very good at mental math, but it's all the zeros that confuse me.
Yeah. You gotta line up all the zeros, but yeah, you're talking about a lot of meat right there. It's simple napkin math, right? You still need the napkin to make that math, but you can actually prove it in a napkin.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's like all this effort, all this energy of just pushing forward. Hey, invest multi-million dollars to yield 0.00% of meat.
Yeah, man, 2.5 million pounds.
2.5 million
just
pounds
beef with $1 million. Of course, we don't know. We haven't factored in like land, but just rough numbers. $1 million for this hoax, dude. 150 million for fake meat. Like, Jesus.
Wow.
I mean, that's, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we can crowdsource some funding. We need $150 million, and we're gonna buy all this farmland across the world and produce like 100 million pounds of beef. Boom.
Boom. World hunger solved.
Yeah.
How many calories does the world need? Okay, there we go. So we just need X amount of animals.
Yeah, dude, we should do the exercise. You're good with numbers, so I'll let you do it. We'll make that into a whole series of posts.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I'm pretty good with Excel. Man, I love this idea. Yes. Let's because we can measure it. We can measure land required, animals. All this stuff is quantifiable. It's so easily quantifiable. Basically, yield per animal, calories per human required. 1,000 ways to ask 1,000 different questions, and it's all pretty easy. It's doable.
You can ask ChatGPT.
we can leverage their tools against them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, man. It's just watching this. I just feel like, man, we can prove them wrong. We can prove them wrong, and we can go into action and make it work. Make a farm
Absolutely.
or something.
I think such is the way. That is our mission.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Butter dairy farms.
Oh,
Butter
yeah.
farms. Butter farms.
1,000 acres in every continent. That's our starting point.
Yeah. 1,000 acres. Where could we find 1,000 acres here in the U.S.?
We need more, man. We need,
Oh, yeah, we need more.
we need 5,000 acres so we can get 5,000 cows on every single continent. And then that's 2.5 million pounds of beef on average. I mean, you have to measure the output per year, which is not going to be this. It's not going to be that number. It's going to be less.
Yeah.
But 2.5 times 5 continents, 12.5 million pounds of beef. That's our goal.
Wow. Wow. How much beef does the U.S. produce? I think it was in the video. It's like 500
billion.
500 billion pounds of beef. I guess. That's in a way.
I'm so intrigued by this topic.
I know.
Dude, it's crazy. Just like, I mean, yeah. What do you say? Like, I can't Google stuff right now.
I'm just quickly scanning the video right now just to see if I can pull up the how many pounds of beef. But yeah, I think you're right. It was like 500 billion.
Nah, okay. US beef exports in 2021 reached a new record of 3.4 billion pounds. But that's exports.
Here you go. So this is what he says. 100 billion pounds of beef.
Okay, found a USDA source says 28.43 billion pounds of beef in 2022, which was an increase of 354 million pounds from the previous year. Nice. Let's go. Let's go, beef producers in the USA. We got this.
Beef, man.
Yeah, 28.3 billion pounds of beef. USA statistic.
28.3 billion pounds of beef.
Yeah.
For the whole year of 22.
Yeah. And then 3 billion of that, 3.4 billion are exported, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're looking at 25 billion pounds stays in the US per year.
So yeah, just thinking about how we can feed the whole earth. How many billions of pounds of beef we need?
Yeah.
Wow. Definitely talking.
Stop growing sugarcane.
Yeah.
Or if you do it, like feed it to the cows.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Humans
cows.
have no dietary requirement for sugarcane.
Yeah, that's true. It's completely just like a what do you call it? Just like a luxury good. It's entirely a luxury good. Yeah. Anyhow,
I think that's a good place to end. I'm gonna go have some dinner.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Maybe I'll have some mameis.
Some mameis. Sweet.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you everyone for watching. I want to wish everyone a happy, healthy, and nutrient-dense era from here on out. Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, don't fall for the propaganda. This is nothing but a financial scam. Join the Discord. We might open a finance channel there, where you can keep a tracker and start tracking these startups so we can short them. Maybe gamble a little bit. Hey, maybe we can squeeze some money out of these bankers, right? These scam artists. Nothing new. Nothing new. I said this at the start, and after watching that video, I think it's pretty clear. But hey, go like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. We're pretty much everywhere. Join the free Discord. We have weekly Zoom meetings on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then last but not least, if you need any help on your weight loss journey, muscle building, hit us up. We'd be more than happy to work with you if we can help you, and take it from there. So feel free to reach out. We can, there we go. A little plug. And
absolutely.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Have a great one, everyone. See you next time.